Oh yeah, before we start the video, I should clarify something that, well, although that I've already did the recording of it and I'm not going to re-edit everything or else my voice would go out, it should be brought up as it's actually important. A day after I recorded for the project, Ludotic mentioned that the user in question that I'm going to be talking about is actually non-binary. And throughout the video, I actually used her biological pronouns instead. I didn't know about this before recording all of my lines, and I apologize in advance for it. I'll try to make a mental note moving forward about it if I ever cover them again or if I ever talked about them again later on in the near future. For now, here's the intro to my commentary. Okay, I really don't want to do a whole lot of editing for this simply because I'm working on my 25th commentary right now, especially since it's a really huge project that I'm working on. About like 60 pages worth to be exact. So here's me playing Influx instead. Occasionally you might see my avatar, but don't count on it. Also, this is 24.5 or 24.33. I don't know. What is up, everyone? My name is A363MTR, here to kick some ass because I got your back, and today we got ourselves another commentary. So there's a guy by the name of Neko Koda who did a slideshow commentary community rant. I have issues with this rant. Let's get right into it.
What does it taste like?
The Slideshow Commentary Community, or SSCC, is a community of people who are very well known for using anime avatars, having stupidly long video chains, and being fucking gay.
I'm a bisexual, actually. How dare you assume my sexual orientation? If anybody takes this joke seriously, then I'm gonna laugh.
Dear Evan Hansen, we've been way too out of touch.
If you've seen any slideshow commentator, you know what I'm talking about. Most of them use anime avatars instead of some sort of OC. Now, I can already hear the typing of keys going, well, that doesn't affect the video, how does that change anything? Just hear me out. When you use a different anime avatar for each video, you lose your branding. If I show you two Turkey Tom videos side by side and you remove the audio, you can easily tell it's the same person. He even used to put his character in the thumbnails of his videos, so that's something else to recognize him by. Now, let me show you two slideshow commentary videos without audio and try telling me who made each one. Now, people who are familiar with the community could easily tell, but if you're an outsider, chances are you couldn't. This demonstrates my point. Even if you don't know who Turkey Tom is by name, you can still recognize him by his avatar. With the slideshow CC, it's like, wait, who's that guy who used Kulula again? No, not that one. Yes, that one.
This implies if we even want to brand ourselves, truth be told. Also, I love the fact that you state that most of us even have an anime avatars, when yet we can use video games or cartoon/western animation as our avatars. Why only focus on the anime aspect? I get that we use anime avatars a lot, but that still doesn't help that you're generalizing the CC when people use different avatars from different kinds of media to begin with. For example, I remember Dynamo Rocks for sure using some Pokemon as his avatar. And while you can argue that there's the anime adaptation, there's also the video games, which is something that is most known for when people talk about Pokemon. I have Mordecai from Regular Show and Lemmy Koopa from the Super Mario Bros. Series as an avatar to at the very least give some sort of examples from myself. And that's not including some of the other avatars such as Jake the Dog, Fox McCloud, Falco, Rocco, just to name a few. Before Boonslayer is currently using his OC for his videos, he mainly used Diddy Kong as his avatar, and even at one point used Rigby from Regular Show. And don't get me started with Doodletones using some avatars from Western animation/video games. And this also doesn't really help for the fact that some of us even have an OC. Within my main commentaries recently, in the intro skits and even in the intro statements, I use Rikakulio, the name of my televised OC, as an avatar before I switch out to a different avatar. And sometimes I'll even use my OC throughout the entire commentary. Doodletones has her OC. Or OCs, really. And then there's a couple of other people such as Silver, Dynamo Rocks for sure, Ponder Sprocket in some of her commentaries, or at least in some instances within her recent commentaries, Aaron Tempest, Boonslayer, Mills Kohai back when she used to do them, Half-Boiled Hero back when he was active in the CC, Keyblade Master, the list goes on again. Now, you could make the argument about us having to use the OC all the time when yet we don't need a lot of avatars, but then I would probably recommend you to look at the picture of a robot tapping down the "No Fun Allowed" sign. And then look at the mirror and see if you get it now. You could also argue that me listing off commentators who has an OC might strengthen your point, but my argument would be that you've never outright mentioned anyone who has an OC. You've kinda mention doodle tones, and later on you'll show someone in the video too. But again, you don't outright say that these people have an OC, just that everyone has an anime avatar. There's like maybe one or two more things, but I'm gonna save them from when we get there.
Now before someone says, so what if someone just uses one avatar? Would that fix the problem? No, it wouldn't. As when it comes to anime avatars, anyone can pick it up and use it, and that would immediately ruin the branding. Branding is very important for a channel. You don't want to get buried in a pool of people using anime avatars. You want to stand out, and I'm sorry, but this isn't helping you at all.
Again, this implies if we even want to brand ourselves. You see, the issue with this point is the fact that we should even care for branding when yet we only do this as a hobby. The only people who I can maybe see this, other than myself admittedly, that either does or want to make something out of commentaries is with Doodletones, Boonslayer, and Pondersprocket. Even then, Boonslayer and myself, or at the very least hopefully since I just started it, focuses on animation reviews, and Boon also does his music reviews even in a countdown form, and Ponder does art as her primary revenue, so you can't really say that it's our main form of content. For me, at the very least for the time being. If I remember correctly, I think it was either Akerloth or Caden Marks, you know, when he used to be in the CC, and if I'm wrong on either or, then somebody else, was the one who stated that we should branch out and start making different content instead of doing commentaries if we ever wanted to go far. You do have to understand that this is a very niche / seedy community and all things considered. And it's not because of a branding issue that you're talking about. Doodle made it just fine by switching up avatars and is one of the most subscribed people in the CC. As for the stealing the avatar sense, one can argue that even if someone were to steal an avatar, that would imply that the other person who used the avatar in the first place would even still have that branding. People such as Youngblood Fantasy 91, Mr. Sir Raven, and Mills Kohai before she used her It Me avatar had an avatar that actually stood out. And even if the person uses multiple avatars, if you were to look at my channel and not count my OCs, people would either equate to me as either Mordecai from Regular Show or Lemmy Koopa from the Super Mario Bros. Series. Mainly Mordecai though. In fact, if I remember correctly, people would associate Doodletones with Tomoko, and even people would steal that avatar. Does that mean that people don't associate that avatar with her back then? No, because people can see that avatar and think that she mainly uses it. In fact, you can really say the same with some of her non-OC avatars too.
Now, I want to quickly cover a YouTuber named Tomiopath who talks about the anime avatar thing. Why them specifically? Because they spit out the same arguments every other commentator does when someone makes this criticism.
Oh, so not only is this a rant about the CC, but it's also technically a commentary on Tommy's video on Simply Dad and Turkey Tom. Well, somebody lied to me. Just wait, somebody's gonna take this joke seriously too.
So I've been mulling over doing a serious response to the only thing in Simply Dad's video that is for a fact about me.
Keep this screenshot in mind.
Well, I think more like Simply Bad is the best thing I've ever created and totally hashtag dunked him with my bulletproof argument. I figured this was as good a time as ever to give my stance on the whole anime avatar criticism that the CC gets like every other day. First of all, let's go over some reasons why someone would use an anime avatar other than being a huge fucking weeb. 1. The person can't draw, or rather isn't at the skill level to make an original avatar set that they'd be proud of having in every single one of their commentaries. 2. They don't have the money to commission an avatar set.
I could easily just say learn to draw and leave it at that. However, I know learning to draw takes a lot of time, and money can be an issue for some people.
Good, because if you would have used that argument, I would have had an essay on why your point was bad to begin with.
So let me tell you what I did about that. Character creators. Sure, it's not ideal, but it can still give you a channel brand of some sorts. In my older videos, I use a gacha character till I could commission Addison to draw my new stills. Now, again, character creators aren't ideal, but tell me, what's a better brand image, my gacha avatar or some random anime character?
Yeah, but let's take me as an example. What if I wanted to use a character creation for my OC Rick? Then just use another avatar. Alright, so let's pretend I don't have my stills for Rick. Let's pretend that Mr. Aiden made some of them for me, as well as making a few edits here and there. Let's pretend I didn't have some fan art for these. Let's pretend I didn't commission some of them, as well as not asking people to do my OC if they wanted to. In fact, let's finally pretend I didn't draw some of them. Now, considering that you've said to try to stand out within your commentaries, whether it be because of a gimmick or because of branding, wouldn't it make sense if my OC has a unique design to them instead of just using a human or human-like OC instead? because I highly doubt that there's a lot of YouTubers, or heck, anyone else online, that has a televised robot as their avatar. You see, it can be an ideal format for an OC that's human and human-like characteristics, but it's not for someone like my OC, or even like Acrolot's OC, which is a zebra with a hoodie and a glowing green face. Then find one that closely matches your OC. Yeah, and try to find something that can closely match up to my OC, even if it's gonna take me a couple of hours to maybe find one. Even if you were to say that it might not be for me, but for anyone else out there, aka the majority, the main issue stems from how limited it can actually be, or how samey it might be too. Yeah, nah. As a spoiler warning, and towards how commentators are quote-unquote samey within your next point that you'll cover, if for whatever reason that we drop what we're doing and just use a gacha character for our videos, wouldn't people now complain that since everyone has a gacha character stills for our videos, it would become samey with the presentation of it all? Look, I don't agree with that potential argument here. And yeah, I'm not ignoring the wording on it's not essential, but do you see us towards where I'm getting at when it comes towards your next major point that you'll make next? Bringing back the limited part of the argument as an example of myself again, I'm actually making another OC named Matthew, aka myself, but more of a furry, some of a cigarette chain-smoking bitch. When I've used the South Park character creation, aka sp-studio.de, I was actually pretty limited on how I made my OC and its expressions. For example, they don't really have a fox tail, just a dog tail. They don't have the option of making multiple tails when I first created it, because my character is known to be a half-human half Kazuni / nine-tailed fox. Gee, I wonder where I took that from. So I just copied and pasted it on Paint, with some additional editing on Pixar, a free editor that I use. Even then, part of the issue is that I'm not sure if other people would see if the individual tails are distinguishable from one to the other. Finally, when making the faces, I only made like 9 quote-unquote unique facial expressions for my OC. Even then, I can't really do anything about the unique poses here. Don't get me wrong, those 9 stills are in my Matthew avatar folder right now. However, with how limited on the character creator is, whether it be based on your own character itself, the facial expressions, the poses, or even if you want a half body or full body or whatever else your restrictions are, and I do know that you said that it's not ideal, this suggestion isn't really the best when it comes towards creating your character.
These are 2 very reasonable reasons to use an anime avatar. Not even just an anime avatar, pretty much any avatar. Other reasons people might use them include theming, they find enjoyment out of it, and just because.
You're trying to counter Simply Dad's point by basically saying, let me do what I want, which just because there's a reason people use anime avatars doesn't debunk his point that it's very boring to watch and sad. I could have very loud rap music as background music and have it drown out my voice and justify it by saying I want to hear the music, but that wouldn't change that it's still drowning out my voice.
I'm sorry, but your comparison doesn't even work here. At the very least for anime avatars, or really non-OC avatars, as you really should have said it that way. At the very least, it's just a nitpick within the overall realms of visual effects. And yes, I am saying that your argument on anime avatars is just a nitpick, because it really is. However, with the comparison that you brought up, the loud music is actually distracting in a sense that you can either barely listen to someone or not even at all.
And even if I had waited, would it really made much of a difference? Would having original art magically strengthen my points? No, it doesn't matter if I'm using an OC, some weeb shit, gameplay, my stupid face, or fetch mother-loving Ruff Ruffman. The points I was making would have been the exact same.
Let me see that screenshot again.
And reading the screenshot that Simply Dad said, just in case if anybody is doing something in the background. Also, can we collectively, stop using screenshots of random anime characters for character stills? That shit is so sad and really fucking boring to watch.
Where does Simply Dad say it affected your points? His point was that this was boring visually. He never said it hurt your point. This is a common argument in the CC, and it's, at best, deflection. Just because it doesn't affect your points doesn't mean it doesn't affect anything at all.
Never mind the fact that Tomy never mentioned Simply Dad within this part of your interjection. One could argue that Tomy was really just saying it in general / adding on to their point in general, and not as a mean of exactly actually debunking the actual argument. In fact, the part in which case that you've skipped can kind of help my argument, as the part that you've skipped was Tomy saying that if they waited to make the OC stills for their videos on Speechy, then it would take a lot longer to make. Especially considering with what Turkey Tom said about their video about trying to exploit the Speechy bandwagon.
After all, what's the point of making a video on a trending topic if it A, doesn't add anything to the topic, or B, isn't entertaining? Oh, that's right, there is no point. This is a problem that is very prevalent in commentary and rant channels in general. They tend to make videos where they just say the same shit over and over about videos that people have disavowed and want to say goodbye to because they don't agree with them anymore. Sure, like, you can make a few offhand comments about a video, you can say that it's bad, you can make a nice little jab, but don't make another 10-minute long video about some speechy video about depression that someone deleted because they thought it was fucking dumb.
And then Tomy continued their point about whether or not if anybody uses what visuals out there, it shouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes towards presenting your points. Honestly, you're really missing a big chunk about why Tomy made the argument in the first place, as Tomy was mainly describing it in general.
Now, you might find it more aesthetically pleasing and less sad and boring, and you're entitled to that opinion. But it's just that, your opinion. You might have disliked my use of 2P England, but there's plenty of people in my comment section saying they clicked on the video because they saw 2P England, and then they stayed to hear a weeb talk about depression while also happening to sound super fucking depressed.
Evidence, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
This isn't really much as to debunk your point, but it's really to expand on Tomy's original point. I do understand that it was mainly an issue on Tomy's end for not showing that kind of evidence, and I will agree with you that Tomy was at fault for not providing said evidence, even though that one could argue that said evidence might not be needed. However, if I can defend Tomy here for just a bit, I've managed to find some. Just looking at the comment section, I found plenty of people really liked 2P England with their commentary on Speechy and came for it, and even possibly stayed for the channel. Here's the list of comments that I could find. Honestly, it's a really easy to find, and I could see as towards why some mediocre commentator would probably go, but you could have searched the evidence yourself. There. Wrong for saying that, but I can honestly understand why. As towards Neko, again, I can agree with you with how Tomy didn't show evidence, and that's really your overall point here. Seriously, I cannot stress these two enough because somebody's gonna take this point the wrong way. But there's your evidence now. My only question is, what do you have to say about that now? No, but if I can go back to your previous interjection for a bit. Tomy actually outright clarified that. Tomy stated that Simply Dad might have that opinion, but it's just that. His opinion. Meaning that Tomy never outright stated that Simply Dad was stating that he thinks if you use an anime avatar, then your points would be objectively bad or be null and void. At the very least, let someone finish their thoughts before jumping to conclusions.
So clearly it's up to personal preference. If you or anyone else doesn't like my use of weebatars, that's fine. I respect that. But I'm still gonna use them. It's fun, I like to theme, and there's plenty of commentators that I'd like to work with that don't currently have their own original avatar set. So at the end of the day, I guess my answer to your statement is no.
And that's fine. You can use anime avatars all you like. Just know, many people will find it displeasing, and a lot of people don't like it. Want to prove me wrong? Name a commentator with a consistent following with over 10k subs who uses anime avatars often. Exactly.
That's really not a fair question to ask because of how niche the community is, really. In fact, people might not like the CC because of how formulaic the style of a commentary is, or the argument said in the video is bad, or even how someone does a commentary on someone and they don't like the fact that they're being criticized, or anything else that doesn't involve a visual aspect within the CC. Yeah, people such as Ponder, Sprocket, and Doodletones made more than 10k subs, which, hello, I've debunked your point in that aspect. Mainly towards Doodletones. But there are others out there who has less than 1k subs, and that's because of how niche our community is. Also, this was something that Luxter showed me, but remember that last statement about me showing off the comments here? Surprise! It's actually relevant, other than to help clarify Tomy's point. Now sure, there's a few comments that mention a blog post that link Tomy's commentary on Speechy, but if anything, these comments actually goes against the notion of so many people hate anime avatars. Considering that it's a very popular video, and the fact that there were a bunch of people that were drawn to it, shows that there's an audience for that visual style. Will there be people who dislike it? Sure. However, you're making it out like anime avatars doomed your popularity when that isn't the case. Heck, I can name other popular videos that use a fictional character avatars before. Let's see, there's TP's try-up on Speedster, there's the Bop Charm, there's the Brooks commentary on Haydux, and finally, my most popular commentary to this date is my 16th commentary where I tackled Nero's Q. All of these have a positive reception. This shows that people aren't as turned off by the style as they're claiming to be.
If you're doing videos for fun, have at it. But at the end of the day, you gotta accept that it's not gonna help you grow at all.
And yet, one can argue that this is the CC's members' main objective towards making commentaries is about. Sure, I would love to get more viewership and more subscribers. And sure, I would love to make some money for something that I like to do. But one, I prefer if they actually engage in my content and not just subscribe to me and then all of a sudden I don't really have any viewership afterwards. And two, at the end of the day, for either me or for many others out there, and I hate to be a broken record when I say this, but it's mainly for just a hobby. If you're only doing this to try and gain subscribers and gain viewership and become one of the most subscribed YouTubers out there, then you're doing it wrong, as that can cause some stress. In fact, this is my main issue with not only in this interjection, but also towards your main point about anime avatars here. It's the overall fact that you've assumed that we're only doing this to get internet famous. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work like that. Even though that some of us would like to get the fame that we wanted, and I mean the good kind of fame, not infamousy, that should really be our second major objective at the very best. If you're doing something that you don't like doing, then why are you doing it in the first place? The overall fact that some of the members of the CC actually like doing commentaries says something about how they actually joined the community as well as why they want to make commentaries at all.
Things have been crazy, and it sucks that we don't talk that much. But
This kind of ties into my last point, but doesn't at the same time. Every commentator feels the same. Let me explain. None of them have any gimmicks or anything new about their channel. Like, they're all the same, just a person debunking videos. There's nothing original about that. And on top of the avatar branding, that makes these channels feel more bland than they already are.
I would like to take a point from Saradas, who is either working on the commentary as we speak, or has already made the commentary, but of course reword it to my own words. I'm doing this because I would like to use this experience for a future point about your argument about bandwagons. So, by that logic, you're also saying stuff like this. The reviewing community is bad. All they do is review things. Well, sorry, Pan Pizza, the mysterious Mr. Enter, Alpha J's show, Nintendo, Mars Reviews, and myself. But you're only the same kind of content creators who make the same kind of styles of videos. Angry Video Game Nerd, Catacris, Angry Joe from the Angry Joe Show, Jontron, and Video Game Donkey. I'm sorry, but all of you are lazy asses because you make the same kind of content by reviewing video games. Oh boy, I think I just made an unintentional pun with asses and Video Game Donkey. Well, too late now. Sorry, Tard in the Shadows, but because you, Adoza Buckley, the Double Agent, Spectrum Pulse, Boon Slayer, and the Needle Drop makes the same kind of music review / music countdowns, all of you guys are just so bland now. The PokeTuber community is bad. All they do is talk about Pokemon. Well, sucks to be you, Proto Mario, J-Wits, Tamashi, and... Actually, I wouldn't mind forgetting about you, truth be told. Any of these people here. But because our Lord and Savior Neko Koda said this about the CC and then implied that it could be the same for every community by his junk of his wording, all of you are bad. Honestly, I can go on with this joke about furry tubers, let's players, movie reviewers, vloggers, etc. But at that point, I would have killed an already dead horse. See the issue that I've presented here? Look, I get it. There could be some other unique thing to them, to the YouTubers / communities that I've presented, and that you're going to talk about how we CC members are the same. But one, I'll get to it when I get to your explanation. Two, like I said in my joke, your wording implies that any other community out there is bad because they make the same kind of content. And three, they're all the same, just a person debunking the video. Heaven forbid that this is what a community is all about.
To prove my point, I'll show you 2 clips from 2 different commentators and you tell me what sets them apart.
Well, isn't that neat, Azriel? Too bad Jonah never said that. Like, I'm assuming that you got this idea from the fact that commentaries are focused on points? and presentation isn't that important? Which, if the case, then you're using this to misconstrue what Jonah is saying.
Oh my god, this is just excuses to point. Meowth never saw Kainu's commentary on Keemstar. Guess what? This counters nothing.
It should have been clear that from Sarah and Kainu's co-op video and the LS Mark video, Light was a separate character from the start.
Well, the avatar is different. Their background is different. Their voice is different. Good going, none of you are directly copying anybody. That's not enough to stand out.
And yet, if we're going to be talking about visual representation, Ponder Sprocket uses her speed draws as her main visual representation. She's also very kooky at times to get pissed off easily. Doodle Tones will occasionally use Minecraft Let's Plays in some of her commentaries. In fact, even though the main part of it is because I'm lazy and busy with my 25th commentary, why do you also think that I'm doing gameplay Venflux at the moment? Loudon, for whatever he feels like it, an extremely on Blaze the movie fan, and I don't care about whether or not if he makes mediocre content, can use a camera to record their thoughts. In fact, in some of my videos, I can sometimes do that too. Yeah, this is what I look like. Have fun with that. Hey there, guys. Looks like I need to clarify things here. Go production edits! Also, yeah, fun fact about this avatar. This is strictly dared in Japan back in the day. Or at least I think it is, but it's really made in Japan. With that being said, and taken into account of what the definition of anime is... Oh no, I'm using an anime avatar. Looks like I'm now part of the problem. Bite me. So there could be a potential point being made against me by saying that visual representation isn't a gimmick. But one, you've implied within your statement after your examples that the visuals are somewhat the same, minus the difference in background and avatars. Meaning that visual representation can also be a gimmick. And two, I honestly disagree. There can be times where visual representation can be a gimmick. Just take a look at the different kinds of reviewers, especially in the animation community, as one can either use their stills, use their camera, or even just show off the footage of the things that they're reviewing. Or hey, maybe a combination of those three things. Also, people like Levius here, Pyrocynical, and Ofuckers back when they were gaining traction in 2016 were using gameplay footage. According to Merriam-Webster, and to back this up, a gimmick, which is a noun, is an important feature that is not immediately apparent, or an ingenious and usually new scheme or angle. And one can argue that the slideshow commentary community's usage of slideshows can actually be a gimmick. Because I'll be honest, when I first heard about the commentary community back in around 2015, I actually found the gimmick of having a slideshow of pre-existing characters as an avatar, while though a bit confusing at first glance, is actually a pretty cool gimmick when I first seen some of the videos that Bob made. And sure, you may say that that last part was me using a subjective opinion, but really we have different tastes when it comes towards whether or not if we even like the gimmick or not, as explained later on. Anyways, sorry about that, here's the rest of the point that I made. Actually, speaking of jokes, there are times where even telling a joke, doing a main storyline, or even what kind of videos that we've covered can actually be a gimmick in itself. Some people describe my humor to be deadpan at times with my older work. Though if you ask me, I'm just kinda kooky. Not only that, but I mainly focus on commentating anything involving animations, mainly the Western animation kind, LGBT plus issues, and sometimes other commentaries. Who knows, considering the fact that I have an Xbox One now, I can maybe talk about video games too, even if it isn't in the commentary format. And that's not even mentioning that, even if people have a problem with it, see my upcoming 25th commentary. I actually do my intros a lot different than everyone else, as well as how I make two segments mainly about my main commentaries, that being runaway tangents and nitpick breaks. Aaron Tempest has an RPG-like story involving being in a spaceship, and some of his characters have text box to convey a conversation. Boonslayer has a story involving the Flame Guy and how the world has ended by the devil. Not only that, but he can cover things such as WWE or even Magic the Gathering. Scarlet Otaku can mainly cover things in relations to anime. Akraloth can mainly cover things like video games. In fact, if you want an example of someone who's a laughingstock of the CC, Nihilistic Snake can not only cover video games, but also political stuff too. Sure, they might be considered as a political commentator, but they're also a slideshow commentator too. Now, could the issue of not having a gimmick be a problem nowadays? Sure, you can maybe argue that, though others might disagree with you with that. But the big issue here is that you're generalizing the CC and what it's about through some of the not so known commentators, when in actuality, there's a lot more to not only the person's style of humor, the visual effects, and the storylines, but also the type of videos that they've covered. With that being said, I don't really like your examples in this part of this interjection, because you're only cherry picking on the main parts of the commentaries, when in actuality, there could be a lot more to not only within the video, but also their channels as a whole. Also, that's 3 commentators that you've shown off. One of your examples was actually a co-op. Why do you not like math?
Reference, let me play 2 clips from 2 people who aren't in the commentary community, and I'll easily list off what sets them apart.
Fox Goodman is certainly an anomaly, this word. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTubers get exposed videos done on them. Usually the first couple of exposed videos done on a person are not really all that popular.
Because while it is true that I have been called a clone of the infamous Calvin the Crimson Chin, it's been rather minimal when compared to a group of YouTubers that have become prominent in the past year or so, and built an entire community off of making videos in the same vein as Leafy.
Just a Robot is a Robot, and Turkey Tom is a cynical asshole. Boom, that was so easy.
Oh, hi there! Post-production me again by saying... Man, you really forgot about Pink Robot, who one can argue that her being a robot is also a gimmick, even if Pink Robot is using the text-to-speech software. You really must be a cold and heartless monster for forgetting about her. Honestly, I really need to stop telling people when I'm joking, because this running gag is getting stale quick. But yet, these examples also don't work. For starters, I don't know towards whether or not Jar is a part of the same CC that we're in. I highly doubt it, though. But Turkey Tom is definitely not a part of the slideshow CC. He's in a different part of the CC, like in the same veins of, like, maybe the correct term being leafy cynical. Why you're making these comparisons when you could have made a better comparison to someone that's within the actual slideshow CC, I'll never know.
Now, before someone says, well, Koda, you don't have a set gimmick. And that's true. It's something you need to build up over time.
I'll give you that. At least you're self-aware.
However, considering we have people like Doodletones who've been in this community for years and don't have a gimmick, and she's what the community aspires to be like.
You know, it's funny when you asked us earlier about any CC members who has more than 10k subs who occasionally uses anime avatars, when yet you let this answer from your screenshot slip in.
That doesn't look too good. Now maybe you could say the anime girl voice changer, but that gimmick can be very obnoxious to people. Personally, I don't mind it, but a lot of other people can be turned off by it.
Never mind that she mainly uses it because she doesn't like the sound of her own voice. Never mind that her gimmick, per se, can be that she's either more serious in her commentaries or that she's dead inside. Never mind that when it comes towards the main storyline within her commentaries, she's in a spaceship with some of the alternate realities of her. Never mind that you're generalizing the CC again. Never mind that this video is bad. Never mind that. So it wasn't in my script, it was someone else's, but Luxter made a pretty good point. And yes, there is the overall fact that you may argue about how it can still theoretically annoy people with Doodle's voice changer, but even then, Luxter's comment. Now, with that said, Koda's point could also apply to Jar's voice changer as well, and even Turkey Tom's personality, since not everyone likes cynical jerks. So bringing up people may not like it with Doodle shows a double standard. Okay, this is the last time that you'll see me having the production edit in this video, I swear. No, but if we were to take into consideration of what Luxter said, you wanna know what's funny? One of your examples actually doesn't like the others at all as well. You wanna know how? Well, it's the overall fact that, in the same video that I've showed off with Turkey Tom where he described Bandwagons, he mentioned Jar's gimmick and not in a positive light.
Just a robot! So a lot of shit is going down in the Storytime Animators community.
No hard feelings, buddy. Your videos just leave me with a sad semi and a handful of lotion. Cripplingly mediocre, if you ask me.
And yeah, that last part of the statement is really more of Jar's overall videos. But even still, Turkey Tom doesn't like the overall usage of voice changer that Jar makes. Anyways, so sorry about that. We'll return to the commentary uninterrupted.
I think of you each night. I rub my nipples and start moaning with delight.
This community loves bandwagons. And I mean loves bandwagons. let me introduce you to Wandering Kirito X7 Commentaries, a YouTube nobody who made one bad video on a guy named Keyblade Master. Now, how many videos do you think were done with this kid? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4, but 5 fucking videos were done on the kid.
Before I get to my main point within my next interjection, are you going to blame Space Guru and by some extension Lunatic for this? If so, then you're blaming the wrong people. Space Guru was the first one who made the commentary on the kid, and by some extension, Lunatic posted his commentary on the day after. Some of the other videos I can kinda get, but with one and by extension 2 of these videos, you really shouldn't blame when they were the ones of the few people who made the video first. But couldn't one argue that they need to talk it out and see as to who's covering what, or even grab a co-op partner instead? Well, no. Not everyone is going to talk about who they're covering, whether it be in private or in public. Even then, what if they only want to do a solo commentary? What then? Also, to tie in my first point of the interjection, what if they worked on it, but it takes time to make because they have a life outside of making YouTube videos? What if they worked a lot in the project that everyone is covering at the same time, but since everyone released a video, they couldn't anymore because it's been done to death, and thus upsetting their fan base, and also wasting valuable time. I'll get to my main point soon to wrap this up in a nice little bow, but to put it simply, by not stating as towards how they can improve on it, you're not really helping anyone out, just making them more stressed out than they already are.
Guys, I think he gets it. No need to beat him over the head 5 times with the same points. Like, who wants to watch basically the same video come out of 5 different mouths? That shit's boring. Now, if each video had new and interesting points, I could give it a pass. But you don't. You all make the same points and it wasn't needed. Oh, but that's just one time. Really? Dark Commentator Bandwagon, 5 videos, all the same points. Dwebbly Bandwagon, 7 videos on the kid. Now, I could excuse some of the videos here, like Dulcimix brought something new to the table, and V Omegas was fine, except for the last part, but the rest were, at best, forgettable. Guys, if someone makes a video on something you wanted to cover and all you can do is repeat points and not add anything, don't make the same commentary. Your video will be forgettable and at best a waste of your time.
This one I actually kinda disagree with, as many people can have different audiences. Trust me, I can somewhat agree with because I can bring myself into this equation. When I released my 10th commentary on Rant 1000, it was after when Ponder Sprocket and an old commentator by the name of the Fiery Henry making even better commentaries. Sure, I might have brought up new points, but I didn't make any engaging jokes within the video, or at the very least when looking back at it, jokes that I like. However, even though that they covered the same points and made the same arguments, people are subscribed to different YouTubers no matter on the reasons why. And even then, some new people might actually want to give one particular video a try. And please don't ask me for any evidence other than the number of subscribers each of the YouTuber has, because I ain't looking through each and every single channel that may or may not have changed over time. In fact, even the way in which we present our point can be different too. Looking at Sarah's script and comparing it to mine, and the point about how we commentators don't do anything special and that we need a gimmick. Sarah has a different character that he uses and explain his point, whereas I try to at the very least make a joke on it. Look, I get us towards what you're saying, and in some aspects I can somewhat agree with you on this, but at the same time, I don't really 100% agree with it.
I gotta tell you, life without ya has been hard, has been bad.
I'ma make this section short and sweet. Why do you guys feel the need to nitpick videos so much?
First of all, the picture of Gligar comes in before the guy that is using it as an avatar starts talking. The Gligar PNG just pops out of nowhere onto Jar's video. It looks very lazy. Darkseid, please spend more time editing your videos so careless errors like this don't happen in the future.
Before I begin though, I want to point out, where the hell is the original video? The description is empty. Why didn't you put it there? If you want to say something in the video that makes people think that sounds a bit off, they might want to check the original video out. They would have to go through the effort to find the video.
But the real issue, and the one that's probably going to haunt me for the rest of my days, is the fact that you use the same goddamn effect over and over again for the rest of time. Hey, you know, TV Simulator? It's a really neat effect. You can use it. It looks really good when you're not using it for like 80% of the intro.
Well, here we go. More examples that's not good. Again, these videos have either the channels themselves or just the videos themselves to be mediocre or bad. Dwebbly, well, he's considered to be a low-tier commentator, or lowish tier, according to some people. And the video that he made, don't get me started on that. I really dislike his commentary on Darkseid, and other people, especially within the CC, do as well. The second one, I think they're more known to be a mediocre commentator at best, but I could be wrong. At the very least, I didn't really like the one about gacha tubers though. The final one was considered by some a bad video, as even Lexter made a commentary on it. If you're gonna use an example of someone making a nitpick, then at the very least, show some examples of either really respected people or really respected commentaries. Simple as that.
Like, look, I know small issues are still issues, but come on, guys. I see these same small issues that barely affect anything being pointed out in almost every commentary. Small editing issues, small things people forgot. Like, come on, is this really so important to point out?
Such as... Please don't keep me waiting here. I've been waiting for the last person to explain to me as towards what they meant. I've missed my kid's birthday because of them. No, but if I can at the very least say something about nitpicks, I can either somewhat or fully agree with you if they either made a problem into a molehill or if it's not hugely essential. Really depends on the overall nitpick. But I can somewhat get behind on why people need to nitpick a commentary. It might create a bigger issue later on down the road if someone doesn't bring it up. So, wire nitpicks are inherently a bad thing, especially when it's not only for the person in question, but for the audience as well. And even then, not everyone is going to agree with every single critique, either in the points department or editing wise. So really, it's not that bad to bring it up as a suggestion.
And don't get me started on...
If I stop smoking drugs, then everything might be alright.
Oh boy, this is going to be a doozy and a half. I can already feel it.
Ah yes, the dreaded one-shot commentary. Even when I was in the CC, I never really liked doing these. They're just so pointless in my opinion. Like, oftentimes these one-shots are just quick points that, at the end of the day, are inconsequential to anything in the video.
Define inconsequential, because even if you're going to bring up an example of this, I have a feeling that you mean every single one-shot in general.
Oh, but we're releasing content, so it's okay.
Secondly, commentators simply make one-shots to release a quick video to give their audience. Commentaries are meant for entertainment after all, so I fail to see how releasing content is a bad thing.
Bite me. You're admitting to rushing out content for the sake of it. Why waste your time on a video that's basically inconsequential? Why not use that time to create a better video? Use that time to work on bigger projects instead of these bite-sized trash videos. Like, tell me in the comments, would you guys rather watch my commentary on no bullshit, or a one-shot where the only point is, the video you're covering is too old?
I'm holding on to my dear life for later on. But if I can stop here for just a sec, no. That's not really as towards what Space Guru said. In fact, let me play part of his one-shot.
I like how you cover a video from 2011 and then act like Joshua is still as bad as he was back then. Heck, you even implied this in your video description. That all clues me in that you're way behind the times, especially since Joshua now uses an MLP fan character and has actually improved since the early 2010s. You either need to find some new Joshua material, or need to bring something new to the table and pick apart new flaws if you want to cover his old stuff. Good luck with the latter one. Seriously dude, 2011 ended a long time ago. I hope you realize that.
Yeah, sure, he was talking about how the video was too old, but if I can defend Space Guru here for just a sec, there's the overall fact that he even suggested that if you really want to cover something that's old, actually bring new points to the table. Now, whether or not if the target in question, Roman, did that, I don't know. But this brings back to the overall point of, you're overgeneralizing things again.
Commentaries are supposed to inform and entertain. These nitpicky videos are like opening up a college textbook and every page just says the sky is blue and Bakugo from My Hero Academia is hot as fuck. You guys aren't saying anything new. You're boring, lazy, and predictable.
Yep. It was a doozy. Giddy. Okay, so I really don't like this point because this is something in which case that you're not understanding here. As a history lesson for all of you fricks out there, the original purpose of one-shots, two-shots, and three-shots were if you didn't have enough to say within the comment section. Back in around 2011 to 2012, YouTube made a cap of how many characters you can have in your comment. If I'm right about this, they still do, but they've actually increased it from, I want to say, maybe 1,000 to 10,000, or even 100,000. Honestly, I could be wrong in those numbers, and for any veterans out there, you can correct me on that, but that's just the gist of it. Nowadays, one might say that there might not even be a purpose anymore, but I disagree. They can still be useful for 4 things here. 1. If the target in question decided to disable the comments in the video, or even if YouTube, whether it be the newest COPA implementation or whatever else that happened, decided to disable the comments as well. 2. If there's new points to the table, but they only want to focus on the new points alone. Geez, another thing to debunk on your point about bandwagons, just take a look at my one-shot of Complain Bandicoot 64 as an example. Even if Ski Hound was still around and still had his commentary on him. 3. If it's another one-shot, 2-shot, or 3-shot. And 4, and I want to thank Slayer for this one, when a video only had so many issues and you don't want to repeat yourself. Actually, there could be a 5th one, and that be by expanding someone's point in its entirety. To give my example on this, let me head back towards one of the playlists that Cam made on Dwibbly, aka that 7 video playlist that you've mentioned. Wasn't Slayer's one-shot more towards expanding the point that Suncat made? In the video, Suncat made the point about Dwibbly saying that he lied about what Videomega said about the overall criteria of what makes a video objectively good. And earlier on in the video, he even stated that a video can be objectively good. He even posted a screenshot of the conversation that Videomega and Dwibbly made to back up his argument. Slayer's point was about the overall argument on even if Videomega lied about what he said, that it can be objectively good. And he even expanded on / clarified the point about not the subjectivity of the aspect, but more so on the objective part of the aspect. To say that they are inconsequential is actually really stretching at best and downright wrong at worst, because people like me and Slayer managed to find at least some actual uses for one-shots.
Speaking of lazy,
all that it takes is a little reinvention.
I'll give credit where credit is due. We have commentators like Videomega and Lunatic the Game who at least try to be more experimental with their editing. However, most commentators have the same editing style. Still image, on a background, switching from image to image, and, if you're lucky, a zoom in. This again goes back to the branding thing. When everyone has the same visually unappealing editing style, you all blend together into this pool of lookalikes, and it gets boring to watch, to say the least.
Oh boy, do you want me to bring up the different visual aids that people like Ponder Sprocket and Doodletones uses here too? Because he decided to make me repeat my goddamn point. Actually, I have one more issue with this exactly, but I want to save it for my final thoughts, because I actually want to cover one more point.
My sister's hot. What the hell? My bad.
In conclusion, the commentary community is a group of lazy weebs who have no differentiation between each other. They all have the same unoriginal avatars, which they sometimes steal art for.
Actually, if I may, I actually agree with this point, but if I can make a critique about this, why didn't you mention that in your anime avatars complaint and actually expand upon it? As much as people might disagree on me for this one, I actually do agree with this critique on it, but my only issue is that you didn't even try to expand on it. In fact, if you want me to, I could do it for you. The main reason why some people might have an issue with not crediting the avatar pictures is because some of the artists actually worked pretty hard on their overall fan arts. And for someone to use it in the video can actually not help the artists to grow their overall fan base. As in, the person who uses the art might actually stole it in a sense. Boom. A sentence to make your point more valid. Finally, says the guy who doesn't credit the person who made the background. Yeah, fun fact. After when someone linked me and others in a group chat, we found out that the background that Neko Koda used came from a website called visualdawn.uk. And in the download section, they stated that you can use the background for your videos, as long as you credit them. And I have the deets that you didn't credit the background artists, as all you linked was your artist that made the stills, Tommy's video, and the 3 songs that you've posted, as well as all of the videos that you've used in the video. And I've checked through all of the videos, by the way. The first 2 were from Turkey Tom, 3rd one's from Lunatic, then after that, by going down the list, Stagmaster, Lunatic again, Videomega, Bowser Dude, Dwibbly, which is the co-op that I was talking about, Just a Robot, Turkey Tom again, the 5 videos that you've mentioned about Wandering Kirito, X-7 Commentates, the many videos on the one-shot that the Dark Commentator made, one of which is funny since Kainou's video was a revisited commentary since they're the same people, the 7 videos that you've stated that covered Dwebly, the 3 videos that you've mentioned about Nitpicks, Slayer's commentary on Chudnow, which is funny since you've decided to tackle something that they've clearly said that they've disowned the video, and finally the one-shot that Space Guru made. Again, none of them involved you crediting the background. I'm not saying that because of you being a hypocrite that makes you wrong. Like, don't get me wrong, I do agree with the point about you saying that we should credit the artist more. However, what I am saying is that you're the one who should do the talking. Now, I can get behind on you not knowing about this kind of information. I mean, I highly doubt it that you've decided not to go ahead and credit the artist out of malicious intent, or anything else along the lines like that. But even then, it's probably best to see and double check if you can track down the original location of where the background is at, and see if they need proper credit. Alright, so I'm gonna stop the video here and do my final thoughts. No runaway tangents, and if I do a nitpick break, then the best I could say is maybe try to find a background that actually loops, as that can be distracting at times. Aside from the overall generalization of the community and using examples that doesn't help your point in the slightest, I do need to ask you a question about this. Out of curiosity, did you make this rant to either help the community out, or did you make it to see it burn to the ground? If it's the latter, then y'all, you really need to calm down. But if it's the former, then my biggest issue with this rant was the fact that you didn't show off on how people can improve on their work, or actually the lack thereof. Truth be told, besides the point about how unoriginal some of the arguments that people say within these things, this is something I don't really like when it comes towards CC rants nowadays, because the people who make the rants doesn't really explain on how one person can improve. In fact, I can honestly say the same issue applies with Bronze Show's rant on the CC too. As well, some people say that it's one of the better CC rants out there, while although they state on why it's bad in that aspect. If I remember correctly, he never really explained on exactly how we can improve on that aspect. You might say to me, but these are self-explanatory on how they can improve. And sure, the nitpick one I can get, just don't nitpick. And the gimmick one I can somewhat understand. Somewhat, as people need to experiment on their own and see if they work. Also, at the very least, I'm not saying that there aren't parts in which case that you didn't give out ways to improve. Even if I found it to be flawed, at the very least, you were given some sort of way to make ROCs. Even if Gacha Life is considered to be a laughingstock, truth be told. Not just by some of the people within the CC, but other YouTubers out there as well. However, with some of the other complaints, and partially the gimmick one, there's no talk about how to improve on them. Let me take your lazy editing for one of them. What would you recommend? Do you recommend doing a different visual aid, or do you prefer something new towards the editing during the slideshow style? If it's the former, what do you prefer? If it's the latter, how would you like to see us do it? For the gimmick one, you've brought up 2, maybe 3 people within your examples. So maybe give them advice or suggest to them on what kind of gimmick they should have instead. If you're doing a rant and hoping that people can improve, then actually give people some advice on not just on the why aspect, but on the how aspect too. Here, let me give you an example. To anyone who might say that, because of me doing the commentary on the CC rant, that they might say that I think that the CC is perfect, you're wrong. If I can actually bring up an issue with the CC, it's the overall fact that there are those out there who are actually afraid of receiving critique, either because of the climate of the CC, the climate of the anti-CC, the fact that they don't want to be ridiculed / receive hate, or because of the fact that they probably have never received a critique during their commentary career. Or hey, maybe it's a little bit of something else. The issue have plagued the CC for maybe a decade, and I honestly would like to see this end. How will I like to see it end? Either reevaluate your own content and see on how you can improve later on down the line, so that when you receive a critique from someone, you might know as to what to expect, or have people to suggest to do a commentary on one of your videos. Even though that I did a commentary on Slayer, and even if it's towards the videos that you look back on and disown them now, I must at the very least applaud him for at least putting some of his videos into the found material chat on the Clap Palace, because it could potentially not only help him in the long run on how to make commentaries, but also try not to be afraid of receiving critique. Do note that you don't have to accept every single critique out there, but to also shield yourself from receiving one, it's not going to be healthy. And I do get it. Sometimes the climate within the CC is rough, as some of the people can hold those mistakes over your head. And to those people, can you just, like, not? We're only human, so we're bound to make mistakes within our lifetimes, as nobody's perfect. If you still think that, then I suggest you watch one of Courage the Cowardly Dog's episodes, Perfect, and then reevaluate your own life choices. Anyways, even then, sometimes you might just have to ignore those types of people. And hey, sometimes blocking can work. And try to find the constructiveness of some of the other critiques and learn from your mistakes. Boom. I just brought up an example of not only on why, but also the how. If you have the option to remake your rants video, I would probably suggest doing that so it can hopefully give somewhat of a more clear and concise manner on what you're actually looking for within the community. Now, if I can at the very least give you a positive, I'll give you this. At least you're not Sino here by stating that our intro skit in the 24th commentary wasn't funny when he clearly missed the part where there was more to the intro skit itself.
Hey, MTR, you had fun on your birthday?
Yeah, I did. Why did you ask?
Well, I was planning on ruining it when I realized that this video existed.
Wait, what video?
This person by the name of Ezreal101 Upgrade.
Anyways, that's really it for the video. The important links such as my Twitter, the credit of all of the art that I use, my Patreon, and a group channel that I'm in are in the description of the video. If you like the video, then please leave a like. If you want to see more from me, then hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. If you have any issues with the video, then leave it down in the comments below, or you may have my permission to do a commentary/response video on this particular video. I'll try to get my 25th commentary out, but if not, then I have a backup for making another episode of the MT Review Show. And I'm also working on the co-op, this time not in the commentary format. For now, my name is A363MTR saying have a wonderful journey through the depths of space and time, but until then, I'm signing out.